So, I've been tagged by Mark over at Same Old 77 for the 3x3 knife tag. And the 3x3 knife tag, as I understand it, is to show first your most carried knife, second your most budget knife, and thirdly your most recent acquisition. Well, I have knives I think I can show, so stay tuned and I'll set up and show you my knives. Alright, so let me show you my knife most often carried. And this is a little bit of a difficult decision in some respects, only that I've had a knife that I purchased with probably my first paycheck from a part-time job when I was 15 years old, and I've had that knife the longest. And I think if I added up all the hours that I carried that knife, it would probably stand out more than any of the other knives, and maybe a number of the other knives combined. So I want to show you that knife. It's not the one I carry most often now, but if you add up the total hours, it has a lot of carry time. So let me show you that. And it is the D.H. Russell #1 Grohmann knife. It's considered a hunting knife, and it's made by Grohmann Knives here in Nova Scotia, Pictou, Nova Scotia. I bought this knife a long time ago. Don't even ask how many years. It is one of the original of those designs in that it was made with carbon steel, and it doesn't have a lanyard hole. It does have rosewood, and this functions admirably as a bushcraft knife, as a game knife, for any number of tasks. The only issue with it I have now is that it's a little bit small for my extra large hand, and I find it just a little bit of a challenge holding on to this when I'm doing some tasks such as feather stick carving. All other carving tasks, it actually works quite well. So that is a knife that I've had the longest and probably have the most hours on my belt. However, it's not the knife that I carry most often now. Let me show you that knife. This is the XXX Knives Sitka, and it's a custom knife made by XXX Knives here in Nova Scotia. I was very fortunate to be able to acquire this knife, and I had Derek Tappan, the owner of XXX Knives, customize this knife in that he made it in a wider grip. The scales are a little bit wider to accommodate my extra large hand, and it's very filling in my hand. I have a separate video doing a review on this knife. He also changed out the steel for me in that originally it would have come with a 4mm thick L6, and I asked him to make it in 3mm 01. And it's an interesting knife in that, as bushcrafters use their knives more and more, I think they evolve, or maybe they mature in their selection of knives, and quite often they gravitate towards the smaller knives, and that's what I've done here. It's not that I don't like bigger knives, it's not that I don't use bigger knives, but for most of the tasks you call on a fixed blade knife for, a smaller knife will seem to fill the bill. I usually pair this with a hatchet or a large knife when I go out. I always have a saw with me, so this will cover all the other cutting tasks. So this is my XXX Sitka. Alright, let me set up and I'll show you my budget knives. Okay, budget knives. This also is a little bit difficult to try and define what actually is a budget knife. I have a whole collection of the Chinese-made small folding knives such as the Senrenmu, and I picked this one out of my collection as being probably one of the most iconic examples. This is one of the original 710s produced by Senrenmu with very much a Sabenza looking design on the sides of it, and it's a wonderful little knife. Now I've got a few of these 710s, and this one just resides in collection because I don't think you can find this knife anymore. So that's considered a budget knife, especially when I paid probably less than $2 Canadian for this, buying it overseas on eBay. Another way of looking at budget knives is how about a knife I didn't pay anything for in terms of materials? A homemade knife made from a Nicholson axe file. So I had a worn out Nicholson axe file, and I wanted to try my hand at making a knife, so it didn't cost me anything really. It was just the work involved, so maybe expensive even if you look at it that way in terms of time, but in terms of cost and materials, it cost me zero, things I already had. It is a full tang, but not a full broad tang. You may be able to see the tang sticking out the end here. It has homemade micarta made from two pair of old pants and some maple scales on the side. Great little neck knife. Even the sheath was for an old knife, not for this knife originally, that I cut down to fit this knife, and it makes an excellent little neck knife. But I think the budget knife that I'm going to choose for this is my Buck Kingsman. So the Buck Kingsman is an entry-level buck knife made offshore in China, but it is a very nice little knife. It's picked it up on sale recently at Canadian Tire here in Halifax. They were originally $50 and they had them on sale for $10. And I thought that was such a good sale. When I picked up my first knife and liked it as much as I did, I went out and bought a second one, because some knives are just worth having. I'll probably end up giving this away to somebody, but I just couldn't pass up that good deal. So this is the Buck Kingsman, and I'm going to enter this knife as my budget knife. All right, now for the knife I'm going to enter in as my most recent acquisition is once again the Buck Kingsman. And the reason I'm entering that in is because I just picked it up last week, and so it's the newest knife in my collection. And right now, it's right at the top of my list of rotation for everyday carry. It's small and light. It's very effective. The steel is, well, they claim it to be 420. Likely, it is 7CR13 MOV, because that's the designation for Chinese steel closest to 420. But it certainly suffices. It sharpens up very easily, holds a great edge, not for the longest time, but it'll take a great edge, and when I need to resharpen it, it resharpens quite easily. So it's not as fast as some of the knives I have to open, but it's just a nice little knife. Okay, let's wrap this up. Okay, this is the part of the video where I get to have some fun, and I get to name 3 other people that I'll tag to respond to the 3x3 knife challenge. But just before I do, I think it's important that I make mention of this. For me, the meaning of bushcraft is more about the skills and the knowledge and the attitudes for wilderness living, not so much about the equipment. We do have to have good equipment, and it's worth our time to look at the equipment and choose what's right for us. But the equipment we carry should actually help us in our journey, not be the focus of our journey. So I just want to say to everyone who is watching this video that don't let the knives you own or the knives you purchase be the focus of everything you do in the woods. They should just be a tool in your toolkit that helps you learn and practice bushcraft. Okay, now on to naming 3 people. So the first channel I'm going to name is Bushcraft North of 60. Aaron, you've been tagged. Then it's going to be Mark at Adventure Time Outdoors. Mark, you've been tagged. And now it's going to be Bushcraft Biker over in the UK. Mel, you've been tagged. Good luck with your tag. And for everybody else, get out and explore. Take the path less traveled. It will make all the difference. Bye for now.